Hi everyone, welcome to Fully Book Chats. This afternoon, we get the chance to interview the author of Last Tang Standing, Lauren Ho. Lauren is a reformed legal counsel who writes funny own voices stories. She has previously worked for Doctors Without Borders and United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. Hailing from Malaysia, she lived in the United Kingdom, France, and Luxembourg before moving with her family to Singapore, where she is ostensibly working on her next novel. Last Tang Standing is not based on her mother at all, seriously. So she can be found at Hello Lauren Ho on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and hellolaurenho.com. Let's all welcome Miss Lauren Ho. Okay. So thank you again. Thank you, Miss Lauren. And so how are you? How are you
I'm
right now?
I'm actually in Malaysia right now, and I'm very excited to be doing this meeting with this like interview with everyone in the Philippines. And yeah, really excited. Sorry that it's been a bit like it hasn't really worked. Like my screen was like not working at one point, but we're good. I hope. How are you, Carla?
No, it's fine. We can see you and hear you clearly. Okay, so thank you, Miss Lauren. So we're here today to talk about your novel Last Tang Standing. So Last Tang Standing is about Andrea Tang, a Chinese Malaysian woman on her mid-30s who has a successful career as a lawyer but is struggling to open up herself for love or to pursue her own happiness. What made you decide to write about the struggles of a mid-30s Asian woman?
Well, Carla, I actually didn't set out to write Andrea as being someone in her mid 30s. Actually, she's 33, so I think that's considered early 30s. Um, I just wanted to write about someone who is going undergoing a lot of challenges in their life, and I didn't necessarily think about the age. But as I started
Mhm.
developing the character, I thought, like for women in their 30s, there's like a special pressure, right? There's like the biological clock. There are certain biological realities that we have to face. And so there's an added layer of pressure that women face just
Mhm.
by virtue of like their biology. So in the end, I decided to make her in her early 30s, and not like in her late 20s or anything like that. So yeah.
Right. Okay. So how long did it take you to write Last Tang Standing, and what was your creative process writing it?
So I started writing Last Tang Standing in 2017. I
Mm.
was in Singapore then, and I was an amateur stand-up comic. So I was doing stand-up comedy for fun, and I somehow um, I think I was doing a set on unconditional love and Asian parents, and suddenly I just thought like this would be. I mean, if I wrote about a character like this, there's just so much material, you know. So I started like brainstorming and started plotting, and then I started writing the outline for the book, and I had a book in I think a week or so. And
Mhm.
I finished drafting the entire book in 2017. But
Mhm.
I only started pitching the book to agents in 2018. But there was some requests for me to like tweak certain things in the book. So I was my first round of submission. I wasn't successful to find an agent, but there were people interested in the book. So they asked me to do a revise and resubmit, which means that I had to revise things in the book before I could do them. And I did that in 2019. Got my agent, and they sold the book in under a week. Yeah.
Right. How is the publishing experience right now that there's COVID-19?
So, it's been quite a difficult year for anyone who's debuting or having their sophomore book out this year because, like the COVID pandemic has made a lot of things very unknown. So, for those of my friends who debuted in 2020 in March and April, everyone was just scrambling just to figure out like how to get the books delivered from the warehouses to the bookstores, and some of the bookstores were completely shut still in the States. So it was just like that. You don't see this as a reader, but actually,
Right.
you would know that working in fully booked, right? But there's a huge logistical setup that goes with getting a book from the publisher, from the printer, all the way to the hands of the reader. And so COVID actually messed up a lot of this, I
Right.
would say, on stuff that you don't see as a reader. So for me, there were a lot of logistical issues getting the book out, but there was also issues that came with COVID. Like publicists weren't actually able to like talk about the books because maybe they weren't at their best. They couldn't get the physical copies of the advanced reader copies to read.
Right.
So a lot of things were up in the air. But I think I say that there are silver linings even in the worst situations. So for me, personally, even though like sales have been affected and I couldn't go on tour, I had all these great plans and they didn't come through. But on the other hand, I got to meet my hero virtually, Kevin Kwan, one of my literary
Right.
heroes, um, because people were having so many virtual events. So I think that like if you try to find the positive, I think the universe somehow delivers you good things. So yeah, I think there's silver linings in the whole process. It hasn't been easy. It's still not easy, but I think there's always a silver lining if you look for it hard enough. So that's how I look at things. So
Right. And of course, congratulations for your book, right? Okay. So, Miss Lauren, as an Asian reader, I think a lot of the viewers here can relate to Andrea's encounters with her aunties during the parties, especially if you're in your 30s and still single. So here in the Philippines, we call them the titas of Manila. So, the aunties who interrogates you about your love life, career, and basically everything that's going on about your life. And the way it was written was so hilarious because it is super true, super relatable, and it really happens. So have you ever found yourself with that pressure from family to get married and have kids or to advance in your career?
well, Carla, I think I think I got that out of the way relatively early because yeah, I've been with the same husband, the same person for like I don't know, 13 years. So
Right.
uh, I kind of skipped all that. Plus my relatives are quite cool actually. So um, none of my
They're not
relatives,
like on Way. No on
no,
ways in our family.
yeah, maybe they talk about me behind my back. I don't know. Like, when they see me, they don't go like, when are you gonna get married? I think they have their own issues to like worry about. But from the feedback I've gotten from readers all over the world, apparently, no matter where you are, Asian aunties are quite similar, and uncles. I'm not going to
Right.
be not going to discriminate. And yeah, even my editor, who's Jewish, and she told me like, oh, like these questions are questions that my relatives ask me all the time. And so I thought,
Oh,
it's not just an Asian thing. I think it's very much,
right.
yeah, I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's not just an Asian
Yeah. Right. Okay, so thank you for that. You okay, so you also tackled about casual racism and casual sexism in the workplace in your book. So even now in 2020, everyday sexism in the workplace is still sadly common. We all talk about strides of big change, but the little biases seem the most difficult to remove. How did you go about tackling this when writing Last Tang Standing?
Um, so like I used to be a legal counsel for those of you watching, but who do not know my background, I've worked in many different countries, well, not many, three countries, and kind of horrifying, but I faced gender discrimination in countries where I thought it wouldn't be that common or it's not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
I would just come down on that, right? But it seems like I obviously I didn't really delve deeply into this in Last Tang Standing because it's not really the book, but I wanted to be accurate and to portray that like even for a lot of women, even really successful women, and I have friends who are partners in law firms right now, they still continue to
Mm-hmm.
face discrimination just on the basis of their gender. Um, and it's yeah, it's sad. And like racism as well, I guess. Yeah, I mean, we have to recognize that like some of us have privilege, depending on where we are, and just based on the fact that we belong to a certain race or another, which I find really ridiculous. But again, like this book doesn't really address it deeply, but I wanted to show that it is believable in even countries like Singapore that claim that meritocracy, but there are still some underlying issues related to racism, structural racism that we still need to address. And of course, in Malaysia, it's the same thing. Yeah, colorism is
Right.
a big problem. Racism is a big problem in Asia. But this is not the book to talk about it in detail, but I did think that it was important to address it because it is
Yep.
realistic. And so for me, like, what was difficult for me to reconcile as an author, Carla, was that sometimes in some of the reviews, people would be like, "Oh, but his mother is obviously racist. Why don't the daughter address it?" And I just like,
Mm-hmm.
but as an Asian author, I'm portraying the reality on the ground, which means that like it's not really in our culture to directly challenge an older relative if
Mm-hmm.
say something that we don't agree. Um, we might or we will challenge them, but not in a direct confrontational way. Like, uh, but sometimes people who are not from that background don't understand that. So, I hate to be the author saying that. Oh, I feel like I bear the weight of representation. But I feel like I do a little bit, and I'm hoping that more and more Asian authors writing contemporary stories get like signed and it's get published because I really want to see more people say, hey, like there are also there are similarities in between all these Asian cultures. I want to talk about mine, and
Right.
yeah, we know we have things that we need to change, but I also think that there are certain things about our culture that we should feel proud of, that we shouldn't try to measure against like another culture just to be like, oh, they
Right.
think that we're good enough. But I think that like what makes us us, is both our strength and also our weakness in a way. But we should be proud of that because it's part of our heritage. I'm not saying that it's like we can't do it wrong, but sometimes basically what I'm trying to say is that like I just want to show what's reality on the ground right now, and
Right.
hoping that like more and more Asian authors will get published internationally, and yeah, we get to tell our stories the way it actually is. They actually are.
Right. Right. Thank you, Miss Lauren. The concept of filial piety is something most Asians grow up with. In the Philippines, it's like this thing we call utang na loob, which pretty means owing someone your life. On the flip side, though, it can be unimaginable to those who didn't have this mindset embedded in their culture. How has this been received by readers with a more Western upbringing?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because like a lot of Asian cultures have this concept of filial piety, and it's strange that I have had people from like more southern European heritage write to me and tell me, oh, but we also do that, and I'm Greek, we have to like, and I think I don't know, I'm not sure if it's because I can't generalize, I can't generalize because I'm not sure, but I do think that while it's very Asian, we're not the only people who have that, but
Yeah.
yes, this is a very Confucius. ideal that you have to honor your elders. And I'm happy that like I get to put that in there quite realistically, I think, and to talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so there are a lot of references to other works like Hanya Yanagihara's A Little Life, Bukowski's It Catches My Heart in His Hands, and TV shows like Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt and Orange is the New Black. We see how they have influenced Andrea. What other works have influenced Last Tang Standing?
Um, so yeah, all these cultural references are actually either books or series that I enjoyed myself, and so I try to put them in. Um, but in terms of like books that actually influenced the style and maybe the structure of Last Time Standing, I read a lot of Adrian Mole, a lot of the Adrian Mole series. It's by this author called Sue Townsend. So Sue
Mm-hmm.
Townsend was a British author who wrote the Adrian Mole diaries, and she's hilarious. And yeah, so like that's like if you're trying to write a diary series, it's worth looking at that. And of course, I read Bridget Jones' Diary,
Right.
and I read the whole series. So maybe some elements of that influence my style of writing, but the humor is very much my humor. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so how do you think the novel stands in today's society with the rise of female and BIPOC, the Black Indigenous people of color voices? What kind of influence do you think it has on the current generation of women in their 30s?
I think that's a very broad question. Like as I said, like we're in a very exciting time in publishing right now, especially in the States, because readers are hungry for own voices novels, and they're hungry for stories that are, well, not from the white majority. So I think it's a really exciting time right now to be someone wanting to publish your own voice novel. Um, Basically, how I see Last Time Standing. Well, obviously there's been a slew of very good Asian American authors coming out with novels right now. I mean, it's a contemporary um, setting. So, like Kevin Kwan has Crazy Rich Asian series. Um, I think Roselle Lin writes contemporary fiction featuring Asian American leads. So, there are a lot of very interesting authors right now that are Asian American that are coming out with books featuring Asian leads. But I'm not really sure if there's anyone who um, who has published a contemporary um, adult fiction in the same genre as me that's set in Asia, featuring an entirely Asian cast. I'm not sure. I don't know if there's anyone. I mean, locally, of course, but I think I'm one of the first few. I'm not sure. If there's anyone who's read anything similar published internationally, please let me know. I would love to read them. But I think Last Time Standing is one of the early books that is set in Asia, featuring an Asian cast that is contemporary, not historical. We have quite a few great ones. I mean, I'm Malaysian, so there's Tash Al, there's Tan Tuan Eng, the very great novels, Yang Zichu. Um, but I think in the genre specifically I write in, which is like creative women's fiction, I'm not sure if there's someone who has something similar. So I'm hoping that there will be more. I don't want to be the only one. I hope there'll be more. There are so many great authors who write in English that are published locally. That in Singapore, for example, I know Sufyan Hakim. He's so funny. Um, yeah, so I think I'm just hoping for more, and yeah, if you guys out there know of any, I'll be very happy to. Please educate me because I don't have time to read a lot. I need recommendations. Yeah.
Right. Okay. What do you want readers to pick up really from the story?
I don't like dictating what readers should get from a book. I didn't write Last Time Standing specifically with a purpose of, you know, uh, hoping that they will learn something from it. But I do hope that people who read Last Tang Standing um, would think about their life and where they are right now in their life and think, am I
Right.
happy? That's actually like a question a lot of us don't ask ourselves, you know? Like a lot of us are successful, but are we really happy? So maybe that's the question I would leave readers who haven't read the book yet or half or midway through the book or even they're done with the book. Just ask yourself, where are you in life and are you happy with where you are in life? I don't have a moral of the story I want to give, but I
Right.
just think it's a question to ask ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what's next about Last Tang Standing? Any plans on writing a sequel or hitting the big screen?
um, discussions, but I don't want to jinx it, so I I want to wait until something is formalized before I announce anything. But there is interest in the book for like screen adaptation. We'll see how
Wow.
it. No, like very early interest. So like
Right.
let's not get ahead of ourselves. There is interest, but nothing is confirmed. So it might not happen. It might happen. That's all I'm saying. But for me personally, as a writer, I am working on the sequel, but I'm also working on another project that's also set in Asia, and I don't know which one will be finished first, but it also depends on whether my publisher wants to buy the book. So you see, I can write,
Right.
but will it be acquired? So it depends. Let's hope.
Yeah. We will also hope for we also hope that the adaptation pushes through, and of course we can't wait to read the sequel of Last Time Standing. So Miss Lauren, what's the best thing and the most challenging about being an Asian writer for you?
Mm, um, so I'll speak specifically uh, for me as an Asian writer that's based in Asia, um, because obviously there are many Asian American writers, very good ones. But like being based in Asia and writing as an Asian author, the most challenging thing for me so far has been the fact that like I'm very new to publishing and there are a lot of things that I don't know. They're like because I didn't go to an MFA program, I didn't attend any formal creative writing program. And when I was signed, there were a lot of things, protocols that maybe I didn't know about, and yeah, so this has been a learning process for me. I mean, it's exciting. Um, Again, I talked about the weight of representation because I am writing as an Asian author based in Asia, writing Asian characters based here, and it's sometimes you feel the weight of representation more because you're trying to do so much. You are cognizant of the
Right.
fact that there's new people doing this, and you want to do it right for an international audience. But something I learned is that you can't really please everyone, and in the end, you have to like please yourself as a creator um, more than anything because if you try to please, you try to like target every quadrant, like, oh yes, I gotta
Right.
get this, that, it's not gonna work.
Right.
I had a chat with someone yesterday on another event, and they were asking me about whether I was writing for an international audience and whether I was chasing
Okay.
trends. I wasn't writing for an international audience. I was aware that my book would be published if it succeeded to an international audience, so I did take that into account. But
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't chasing an international audience, and neither was I chasing a trend because I think when you write to chase a trend, by the time your book is finished and it's time to start pitching it, you might have missed the trend, and the trend is no longer cool.
Right.
I think it's really important if
That's
anyone
true.
here is an aspiring novelist to write something that's true to you and that you think would resonate with someone out there, but don't chase trends in publishing because you will always miss it. And oh my gosh, now vampires are cool again, right? But by the time you finish your book, it might not be cool
Right.
again. So
Right.
don't chase trends. Don't chase trends. Just do your own thing. Yeah.
Thank you for that great advice for our aspiring novelists and writers. Any advice for single 30-something women?
In what sense? I don't know. Um, uh, enjoy your life. I don't claim to have all the answers, even though I wrote a book that seemed like I had answers. But no, I don't have answers for anyone. But I always say, like, whatever stage of life you're in, enjoy that stage as much as you can, because time waits for no one. Seize the day. Now I'm just spouting out sayings, but I really do believe it. I do think that, like, you know the best thing that you can do for yourself at whatever stage of life, whatever your gender, whatever your race, wherever you are in the world, is just to live your life fully and please yourself first as much as you can. Yeah, I mean,
Mm,
it sounds easy to do, right? But it's actually not easy to do. And I think that in this day and
mm,
age, especially since, with like social media and things like that, there's like a lot of pressure on us to present a certain face to the world. And I actually want to encourage people, because I'm a millennial, but I'm also not like a very, very young millennial. So,
mhm.
I've seen the good old days when you could do stuff and not be on the internet and not be judged.
Right.
And I actually encourage, like, all of you, like, to occasionally step back from social media and, like, do stuff. That's really great. So that's just general advice. It's not specifically target to single Asian women or over like 30, but just like live your life, step away from social media, and just try to please yourself above all. Yeah, that's my general advice to anyone.
And that's a really good advice, Miss Lauren. So thank you for that. Um, we'll have another set of questions, but before that, to everyone watching, our copies of Last Tang Standing are selling so fast, and so you can place a restock order at the link provided in our pinned comment. So just use the promo code Leave the Dream to get free shipping and a free tote bag from Penguin Random House. So the promo is valid only for today for the restock orders of the Last Time Standing, so don't miss it. Okay, so Miss Lauren, we still have another set of on-the-spot question. Just a heads up, this might be the most difficult questions you will answer. Okay,
Okay,
so here we go.
I love
First
difficult.
is boba. Okay, boba or wine?
Boba one. It depends on the time of the day, because I do have a boba addiction. But unlike Andrea, I'm actually not a heavy drinker. Um, so I would say boba probably. Well, it depends on the wine as well. It depends on the wine we're talking about. If it's
Right.
like, maybe, I don't know.
Okay, so who are you gonna kiss, marry, and forget? So we have Eric, Suresh, and Orson.
I'll kiss Arthur. Uh,
Orson, okay. Ooh,
um, Probably Mary to forget Eric.
Suresh.
I don't know. I'm not gonna. I don't want
Oh,
to spoil the book. So, like, these are what I would do. Uh,
right.
to each his own. I had a lot of really from fellow authors who read the book. Like, for example, Lindsay Kelk, who's one of my favorite authors. She's hilarious. She told me that she was totally Team Eric. I won't tell you what else she told me about the book, but
Oh,
I'm Team Eric, and I'm like, yeah, you do you. But for me, like, just talking about Eric, right? Let's just uh backpedal and go back to Eric, because I think that, because without spoiling anything for anyone, I think that, like, if Andrea does the same thing as me, um, she would be on the path to finding happiness. But if Andrea chooses to be with Eric, which she could, again, I'm not spoiling anything, um, it would mean that she is choosing comfort over growth. And that's all I'm going to say.
right.
So, yeah. Mm. But
Agree.
if what in the sequel, they will both be back. In what capacity? I'm not going to tell. But Yeah, I'm not spoiling anything, I think.
Right. Okay. So, Miss Lauren, what are jorts?
They're the devil's invention. Never wear them. No, I'm kidding. So like jorts. Jorts are like jean shorts, but they're like long. They're kind of like long.
Oh,
They're not like cute jean shorts, okay? They're like the longer um ones that kind of reach your knees that some guys wear, but also some women. And you'll
right.
ask why because it's not
Something
flattering
like
unless you're like super tall and skinny and whatever everything looks good in it. But jorts, just stay away from them. Yeah.
okay, noted. Okay, Miss Lauren, paperback or hardcover?
Ooh, good question. As a reader, I actually prefer paperback. And like Last Tang Standing is actually in the like before I was published, I had no idea that there were different types of paperback. But like Last Tang Standing is really large, and in industry lingo, it's actually a trade paperback. So it's like a very fancy, nice paperback. And I just think it's like the best format and the size because it's just large enough for you to like see every word clearly because I've read books where the print is like yay big, right? So small. Like Kieran Desai has a book and I don't remember which format it was in, but it was so bad. I was squinting the whole way. But yeah, I love paperbacks and specifically I like trade paperbacks because they're larger than the smaller mass paperbacks which are smaller and like more pocket size and they're not as good qualities as well, as good quality as well. So yeah, I like paperback actually as a reader, but as a
Right.
collector, maybe for hard copy for some books.
Yeah, it looks more beautiful, classy on shelves. Okay, so bookmark or dog ear?
Okay, I'm terrible. I bookmark all my no, I dog ear my books. It's like I'm not very nice to my books. Like if I see a book that has a quote that I really like, I dog ear it and then like I scribble on the margins and then like sometimes I like write on the book with like paper or pen. I have been known to do both. Um and yeah, it doesn't reread a book with all my scribblings on it, but I understand that some people think that what I'm doing is tantamount to, defacing a book and I should be, I don't know, hung. But I actually like, yeah, scribbling my book and I like dog ears. But I'm
Right.
trying to be my books now because now that I'm like on Instagram more and I have bookstagrammer friends, I'm like
Mm-hmm.
doing that to my books. They're so nice. I should be taking care of them like how these bookstagrammers do it. So anyway, I'm always learning.
Right. Okay.
That's
So,
their thing. Like if you dog ear, you should be sent to jail. But they're my books. Yeah, they're my books.
correct.
I do whatever I
Right.
want. Yeah,
That's true.
yeah, they're mine.
Okay. Last book that made you cry.
Um, yeah. So I just read Khalid Husseini's and the Mountains Echo. I think that's the
Mm,
title. It's not a new book. It's been out for a few years. Um, but I really like The Kite Runner, and I thought to myself, since I'm in the mood for a good cry occasionally, why not, right? And at first, like I couldn't get past the second or third chapter the first time I tried to read it, so I thought
mm-hmm.
it would be a DNF, do not finish. But I got back into it a few days ago, and oh my gosh, it made me cry like a baby. And I don't cry. I've been through stuff, but I don't cry easy. And this book made me cry like a baby. But yeah, so if you're looking for a good cry, um, but the only book that no, maybe I wasn't crying like a baby. The only book that made me like really sad is Hanya Yanagihara's A Little Life. That book made me so sad. Um,
Right.
And this book that I really love. It's one of my personal favorites. It's called The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy. That that that
Yeah.
book, so good, so good, so good, so good, and would make you cry too. Okay, so we got three
Thank
books.
you for those book recommendations, Miss Lauren. When writing first drafts, do you write by hand or do you type?
Dude, who has written by who writes anymore? I don't know. I haven't written for ages. Like the only I the pen for the first time in years because I had to sign books, right? Um, and I was like, oh, I don't even know how to hold a pen anymore. I was like, oh, this is so weird. Okay, so basically, like I write by typing. I write by typing. I type. Yeah, I type. Yeah.
Right. Because some other writers, most especially here in the Philippines, they still write their first drafts before translating it to the computer actually.
Sure, it's because they don't own a cat. They don't have a dog. They don't have children. There's no way I would write anything paper. Like no way. I would not trust myself.
They're gonna
Not.
sabotage.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I
so
it's like dude, not gonna survive. Anyway, yeah. It's his own.
okay, Miss Laura, do you read one book at a time or multiple books at the same time?
Multiple books, like two or three at a time. Yeah. I can't do the whole. I mean, if the book is really good, I might just like read it for 2 days. But sometimes I just like putting it down and picking something out. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. Who's your favorite writer?
I have too many. Sorry, I can't pick one. There's just so many good writers. I like Virginia Woolf. Um, I like. I mean, I like so many authors. I can't pick. Unfortunately, like a lot of the people I like have only put out one book, so or like one book that I like. I don't know.
Okay.
I
So
can give.
maybe you can give us the book you always recommend. We have that.
Okay, so I always recommend Arundhati Roy's The God of Small Things. Uh, I don't always recommend Hanya Yanagihara's A Little Life because I think it's a very triggering book for a lot of people. There are a lot of issues that are examined in the book would that might be triggering for people. So I try not to like I assess the situation. But yeah, I think okay, even a little even The God of Small Things is tough. It's a tough book dealing with racism, with the caste system in India, with interracial love, and it's a tough book as well. But you know, I think like the best stories always are complicated stories.
Right. And for our last question, do you judge a book by its cover?
Mm, tough, tough because I am an ebook reader, so sometimes I don't even care
Mm,
about the cover. But when it comes to books, like if I'm out in a bookstore and I'm hesitating between two books, and I'm like, I can't take another book up, no space. I might just make a decision based on the cover. So the cover is still important for physical
right,
books, for impulse
right.
buys.
Okay, so thank you very much, Miss Lauren. And now, viewers are welcome to place their questions for Miss Lauren in the comment section.
Wonderful.
So just comment your questions for Miss Lauren and Miss Lauren will answer it. Okay, but while we're waiting for questions from the viewers, do you have any message for the readers?
Ooh, someone just asked me a question. So teacher Mark just asked me a question. She or he or they asked, um, Could you tell us about your transition from law to literature and what sparked this? So when I first decided I wanted to read law, I did it because I thought I didn't have any other idea of what I wanted to do. I was 17. I was also applying for medicine, and I did get in for a couple of schools in Australia. But I think in the end, I think I shadowed someone, like a relative who's the doctor, and I was like, oh God, no. Uh, so I just chose the next thing on the list, which was law, because I'm terrible at math. I'm like the worst. Okay, no, I'm not the worst. All right. I hated the idea of doing anything that has to do with finance or math or whatever. Um, and yeah, so that actually was the reason why I got into law. And I think I always wanted to be a writer because I was always writing articles for like school magazines. I was entering writing competitions even in like high school. So I always had a hand. I always kept like a toe in the water, and like maybe I was preparing myself to be an author one day because I knew I had to build up some kind of CV because I wasn't going to like creative writing schools, right? So I don't know what exactly prompted the transition. It was very gradual. I think like I after I was a lawyer, I was a humanitarian aid worker with Doctors Without Borders for some years. I mean, I represented the agency, and when I was working in Doctors Without Borders, I had more time to write, and so with that time to write and the headspace to write, I actually started working on my novel again. And I've worked on two other novels before in the past when I was working in law, and I never managed to finish them because I just didn't have like energy at the end of the day. And when you're writing part time and not full time, you need to have the energy at the end of the day. If you're doing it at the end of the day to write, and I didn't have that. So just to answer your question again, in summary, I was a lawyer and I didn't like it enough to stay in it, and I decided to go back to my first sector, which was humanitarian aid. And I worked there. I got time to do all the fun stuff I wanted to do. I tried stand-up comedy. I wrote novels. And right now, I'm actually a full-time author, but I might, do something part-time in the humanitarian world again. I don't have to say no. It really depends because I feel like I have time to do a lot of things. And, in between writing, I feel like there's a lot of time in the day to do other things as well. So I might go back. But yeah, so there's nothing literally that sparked the shift. I always knew I was going to write. I just didn't know in what capacity. Yeah.
Right. Miss Lauren, as a full-time author, Nicole soon is asking, do you read reviews on your book? If so, what feedback touched you the most?
Well, there are a lot of questions though.
Yeah.
What do you think, Carla? Should we go through them like one by one, or you just want me to reply to that one? Should I answer the others? Who's the inspiration for Linda and Jason?
And Jason.
Um, okay. Real life Linda exists. She totally exists. She's
Oh,
one of my close friends. She's tall, she's good looking. She's unfortunately, she's not exactly. I mean, she's not half Filipino. Not that it's unfortunate. I'm just saying she's not half Filipino. But real life Linda exists. Jason is, I guess, based on a couple of people I know. There's no one specific character, but there is someone I used to date in university. Who is actually Filipino, whose name is, oh shit, okay, I'm not gonna mention his name. So he was in law with me, and yeah, I guess he also partly influenced Jason. He was really cute. Anyways, next question. It's from Maria. Miss Lauren, did writing
yeah.
help
Did
you guys
and energize or exhaust you?
energized by it, Maria, because it was so funny to me. There are a lot of jokes that didn't make it into the final copy, but I was just living my best life when I was writing LTS, because I was trying stand-up comedy. I love stand-up comedy. I love watching it. I love performing it. I'm terrible on stage, but I didn't care. I was doing the things that made me happy for once in my life. And so it was just during this period of time I was experimenting creatively, and it just was a lovely time for me to write. And writing Last Tang Standing and during this period was actually energizing for me. And I think that when you're doing something that you like, you're not ready
Right.
to like it one way or the other. And I think we're all inherently very creative people. I truly believe that all of us have creativity in one way or the other, and I think it's important to nurture that side of it. Whether it's just like painting, doodling, sculpture, writing, singing, dancing. Anything that allows you to creatively express who you are. In fact, is something to pursue. Yeah, if you love it, even like figure skating or I don't know. Trying to think. I'm trying to think of something really out there. Improv. Improv is good. Yeah,
Yeah.
do whatever makes you happy. Okay, how did your friends and family react to LTS? Oh, thank you for saying that you loved it. Um, so my parents, I think, tried to read it. My I know that my mother-in-law read the book and she loved it, and which is interesting because English is language. So I'm pleased that she loved it. My parents have kept wisely mum. So they've said nothing to me about the quality of the book per se. They're just like really proud that I got published by a big publisher, and they're like buying copies sometimes to give to friends, even though I tell them not to buy the book, right? They're just like, no, no, I have to buy it. And like, but they haven't actually read the book to the end, I don't think. But I'm not going to pursue it because I rather my parents not tell me what they think, especially if they hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm thinking they will hate it, but you know, family loves it. My friends, I guess they love it. Um, or if they don't love it, they don't tell me. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next question. So Nicole asked, "Do you read reviews on your book? If so, what
Yeah.
feedback most?" Well, Nicole, let me give you all a really big tip for all you people who want to be published authors one day. Don't read your reviews. It sucks. Because there'll always be bad reviews. I had to learn this the hard way, okay? Um, well, I'll say this. All my trade reviews have been good. So, like, trade reviews are basically like um, the professional reviews. So I've had start reviews from Library Journal, and I can't remember, was it Book List? Yeah, one of them. And it makes you so happy when you get like professional reviews that are great. Um, it makes you so 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 happy, especially as a newbie. But I think the true test of mental strength is when your book actually gets reviewed by readers, because some readers will find issues with your book that you never even knew was an issue. So, and they will tell
Right.
you with unstinting language. They will tell you without sparing your feelings. So, I actually don't read reviews anymore, especially on Goodreads. I know there are lots of
Mm-hmm.
very good reviews. I have friends who tell me about like great reviews that they've seen.
Mm-hmm.
But I try not to read the good or bad reviews, because if I come across something that's really negative, it might impact me. It hurts. I've been a stand-up comic, and sometimes I get booed on stage. People will heckle me, but it's cool. You take it because I don't invest a lot of myself when I do stand-up, because I think of it more as fun. It's not a career. But being a writer is my career in a way. I hope anyway. And when you see words that are written very clearly and they're very like, negative or hurtful, it can stay with you because words impact you much more than sometimes even hearing something like in the passing. Um, so basically, what I'm trying to say is that I try not to read reviews anymore. I got lots and
Mm-hmm.
lots of really nice feedback, and they're so touching, especially when people write me like nice stuff and then they write it to me like in private. It really
Yeah.
makes me, and especially if someone says like, oh, I'm so inspired from your book. I think I'm going to quit my job as a lawyer. I'm like, good. Okay, fine, but they exercise judgment. Okay, it's not just because of my book. I'm always happy when people write to me and they tell me that they've been touched in some way or the other by the book. Especially if like it's like some personal thing, like
Yep.
maybe they're in an interracial relationship as well. They're like, oh, I'm so hopeful for good things to happen to mine too, and that makes me happy. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question, and we can go to the next.
Okay. Thank
What
you,
would be
Miss Lauren. And from Ailia, what would be your advice for Asian writers who want to break into international publication?
Okay, cool. I'm going to give it to you all straight, okay? First and foremost, publishing is about persistence, okay? If you're persistent, and I mean like persistent as in like first you have to finish a book, because if you don't have a novel, you don't have a manuscript, you don't have a book to pitch to people. So you need to be persistent, you need to do your research, you need to research which agents you should be talking to, and you need to research the market in which you want to be published, because you can be published locally, you can be published regionally, you can be published in the UK first, or you can publish it in the US first. It's up to you to research and decide what you want to do and to know the market well enough, because what kind of book are you writing? Are you writing a thriller? Are you writing a book of poetry? Are you writing short stories? These are very different genres and with different markets, right? And different demands for new writers. So you need to really know the market. And like it's as I said before, it's a great time to be a own voices writer. It's the time for you to research titles that you think would be similar to yours. So let's say you're writing YA, right? You want to know who is the up and coming Asian authors that are breaking through into international market. Then you have to read up and read widely. You have to read in your genre, and obviously, as a writer, you have to read outside your genre. So if you want to write like science fiction, you also have to read romance sometimes because it's important. Every single genre has something to give you if you would open yourself up to it. So you need to read widely. So basically,
Mhm.
let me summarize. Be persistent, finish your novel, do your research to figure out who you should be talking to when you have like a finished manuscript, so like the right agent, because your agent will be the one that pitches your novel to the publisher. You will never, if you're talking about big five, the big publishers, you will never get your manuscript to be read by anyone unless you're someone very well connected. I don't know, but
Mhm.
normally in traditional publishing, you need an agent. You definitely need an agent. If you no agent, you can't get your script in the door. So you need to know your research. You need to do your research for your agent. You need to do your research on the comparative titles, as I told you, in the genre that you're writing in, so that you're familiar with what's breaking through. You're familiar with what people want. And also, lastly, as a general advice to writers, you need to read widely. You need to read widely across genre. So it's really important, and please dedicate your time to reading as well. Yeah. And
Right.
make friends
Thank you, Miss Lauren.
with the writing community, right? That it means what that means is that follow the bookstagrammers that you admire, talk about other authors who are in the space that you admire. It's good for you to build that goodwill, because when you're finally a debut author, you want the goodwill to be returned to you as well. I mean, I wish I had done that earlier, but I've been very lucky in a way that um, I've been involved in a group of debut authors that are so supportive and so wonderful. And I think that energy is so important, because you're not the only book that someone who likes the genre will read. So you don't feel professional jealousy. It's actually very damaging for you to be jealous of other authors. You need to be able to support other authors as well. So that's really good general advice, I think.
Thank you very much. That's super good advice, Miss Lauren. From Chini's, what do you feel when you finally finish the book?
Relief. I don't know. I don't know what you mean by that. But when I first finished the book, because I was so involved with the characters. Of course, I was relieved that their journey was finished. So I hope that answers your question because I'm not really sure what you mean by it. But yeah. What genre
And
would you want?
yeah, what you want to delve in next from Carla?
Interesting question. So as a professional author, my agent has advised me to write in the same genre. So I should stick to the same genre because I'm building like a author following a brand, right? But if I was restricted by that, if I wasn't restricted by things like keeping to a genre, I would write an Asian horror. Yeah, that's fun. Okay, thank you for answering my question. Okay, now.
And then lots of love for your book. And then we have Hannah's question. Are there any videos from your stand-up days?
Oh, Hannah, you do not want to see any of my stand-up videos, trust me. I was just doing
And
so
what
I
is
think
your advice to those hoping to make a career shift as you have?
marry rich.
Best
Why?
advice.
That's not advice you should ever have. Should ever listen to it. So I joke all the time. Okay, if you know me, I'm a joker. No, no, no. Listen to me. What is the advice for someone who wants to make a career shift? Save your money, have a plan. It's really important because if you're making a career shift, and I assume you're making a career shift to a creative one where there's no guarantees that you make it. Trust me, there's no guarantees. Um, you better have backup money, yo. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and I'm reading this book again. It's called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, and I think every aspiring author should read it because she gives some very good advice. She says like she Elizabeth Gilbert is the author of Eat, Pray, Love, and she only got like her breakthrough novel on Eat, Pray, Love, which is a fourth novel, and she says like she only gave up the day job by the fourth novel. Um, like don't take my example because I'm actually in a weird situation. I just moved countries, but I'm gonna move back. It's complicated. So I'm kind of like I'm not happy by choice because I like doing lots of things. Um, I would say that if you want to make any kind of career shift, make sure you plan ahead. Plan ahead and make sure you're mentally prepared that like in your new career you might not be hitting all the high notes on straight away. Not everyone does. And you need to be mentally prepared and also financially prepared before you do anything. That's basically the best advice I can give you. Yeah. Next question.
And I think that's it. Those are the
Yeah.
questions from viewers. Okay. So thank you, Miss Lauren. Do you have any more messages for our viewers and readers
No, not
here?
at
What?
all. I think we covered a lot of ground, but I've had so much fun today. I thank you so much, Carla, and thank you, Fully Booked, for hosting me. And it's been so nice to just like give general advice. I feel like I'm an auntie already, even though I'm still in my 30s. No, I love giving advice. So follow me. Hello, Lauren Ho, on Instagram and Twitter, and say hi. I'm usually quite active. I sometimes reply to DMs. I sometimes reply. It's getting difficult because I have a lot of DMs now. Some of them are very weird. But anyway, yeah. So you can definitely write to me, and if I can reply, I will try to reply. And yeah, just follow me. If I have like new publishing news, I'll definitely update it on my platforms first. So yeah.
Okay, and we hope to read more books written by you, Miss Lauren. So thank you very much again, and thank you everyone who joined us today. And thank you, Penguin Random House, too, for our promo. So get your own copy, place your restock order at www.fullybooked.online. So just click view and edit cart and apply the promo code Live the Dream to get free shipping and a free tote bag from Penguin Random House. Okay? So, thank you everyone and have a nice day. Okay, so thank you everyone. Thank you, Miss Lauren. Please get,
Uh,
please place your orders of, restock orders of Last Tang Standing. So the promo is only until today, so don't miss it. Thank you.
and apologies for the technical difficulties in the beginning. My phone was just
Oh,
really, it was weird.
forgot about that already.
All right, thanks so much, Carla.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you. Bye.